After firing Nick Nurse at the end of the season, the Raptors have had a long coaching search, but it seems like a decision is imminent as this weekend will likely see the head coach being named, so we'll break down the finalists and how that search has gone so far. Additionally, Nick Nurse has finally thanked Toronto, so we'll break down his comments, as well as Fred VanVleet being linked to the Philadelphia 76ers. So lots of stuff to break down. Without further ado, let's jump to the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is Sergio, Scariolo, and Jordi Fernandez named as finalists for the Raptors coaching spot. Now, as mentioned in the intro, this has been a long, drawn-out coaching search, and a lot of the names that we discussed and saw potentially on the board as potentially being a fit for this Raptors team, they've essentially been dropping one by one, whether it be the Raptors kind of striking them off their list or them getting scooped up by other organizations. I mean, Monty Williams is a guy that just got paid a serious bag by the Detroit Pistons. Adrian Griffin was an assistant for the Raptors. He's now head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. So, even Frank Vogel, he's going to the Phoenix Suns now at this point. But Josh Lewenberg gave us some insight, essentially saying that the Raptors are now the only team with an open head coaching position left, but likely not for long. A final round of interviews is scheduled for this week/weekend, and a decision is expected soon. Sergio Scariolo and Jordi Fernandez are believed to be among the final candidates. I've also heard from Mark Stein, a few people, that Kenny Atkinson could also be in the race for one of these positions as well. But Josh Lewenberg's thrown out Sergio and Fernandez out there as two potential head coaches. Now, we've broken down these guys on multiple videos as potential replacements for Nick Nurse to come in and take over this team. Sergio's a guy that's an extremely accomplished coach. His coach over Europe, he was an assistant for the Toronto Raptors during our championship run. He's won championships, all this sort of stuff. So Sergio's a guy that'll be able to come in, instill a winning culture, and do the things that we sort of want if we want to get back into playoff contention. Fernandez has been a long-time assistant across the NBA, so has a very strong reputation of developing players, and he's with that Denver Nuggets team that has really overperformed in a lot of seasons, developed a lot of players in-house, most notably Nikola Jokic, who's a second-round pick and is now one of the best players of all time and could potentially win an NBA championship. And then, with the complete 180 the Sacramento Kings did this year with hiring Mike Brown and Fernandez coming in there, could be a solid selection. Kenny Atkinson's the other name that Josh Lewenberg didn't announce, but he took that Brooklyn Nets team that was in a dire situation. The Raptors, without our first pick next season and not making the playoffs this year, we're in a bit of a shaky situation. Brooklyn Nets-esque, mid-2010s Brooklyn Nets-esque. And Kenny Atkinson did extremely well in instilling a strong culture, developing young players without top draft picks. In that situation, obviously, left town, saw the writing on the wall when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving showed up. But, his next coaching destination being the Raptors, all three candidates are coaches that I'd be very comfortable with. So let me know what you guys think about these potential finalists. Haven't heard much on JJ Redick or Steve Nash in recent days, so it seems like these are the three guys it's most likely going to be. So let me know what you guys think. Adelman for the Denver Nuggets could also be in the mix. Chris Quinn. Mark Stein basically came out and said that there's a lot of quietness. There's not a lot being said about the Raptors coaching search to the insiders, but we're scraping together everything we can on these Raptors Digest videos, trying to keep us all informed and get us excited about this search in this offseason. But the next thing we're taking a look at is Nick Nurse sends his thank you to Toronto. Now, Nick Nurse, a lot was made about how he was the one coach that didn't send out a thank you message on social media, didn't send out something like that. But he seemed to have waited till his first media availability with the Philadelphia 76ers to really give his thanks to the city of Toronto, give his thanks to the organization. People thought he may have been bitter and all that sort of stuff. And while that may be the case, it didn't seem like the Raptors and Nick Nurse end on the most amicable terms. He did have a lot of kind words to say about the city. Amazing place. He spent the last 10 years there. He had kind words from Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Larry Tannenbaum, the whole organization and team for giving him the opportunity he had to win a championship. So I'm happy that at least publicly, it's really bad when they're publicly, not willing to give praise and give thanks. But, I'm happy that relationship is there because unlike a lot of Raptors fans, I'm a big fan of Nick Nurse, or at least right now. I'm sure the recency bias and all that will settle, but I want Nick Nurse to be beloved, our championship head coach and all that, even if there was a disappointing finish to his Raptors career. But he did have a wild encounter down there with Philadelphia as in his first interview. Just a Philly reporter came out and was, hey, do you want James Harden back? And Nick Nurse said, he did his classic response, beating around the bush. Yes, James is a talented player, but he can't give up the leverage, give up the insiders, stuff like the Toronto Raptors, don't let anything leak or try not to. Last season may have been an exception. Try to give the political answer, and then the Philadelphia reporters just saying, hey, you didn't answer the question. So he had to a bit more blunt, a bit more upfront down there in the Sixers media. So some people are saying he's regretting his decision. I don't know. Coaching the MVP, even if it's making Raptors fans as sick to our stomach to see, Joel Embiid being coached by Nick Nurse. It's a good situation for Nick Nurse. He definitely landed on his feet well, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this entire coaching situation. Across the league, things are shaking up in a big way. But the next thing we're taking a look at is Fred VanVleet potentially following Nick Nurse to the Philadelphia 76ers. And this one, a lot of people are bringing up. A lot of people have talked about, Fred VanVleet being Nick Nurse's, child's pet or whatever, or teacher's pet. That's a school analogy or whatnot, but being the favorite of Nick Nurse, and potentially he'll follow Nick Nurse to the Sixers. Essentially, news coming out saying that Fred VanVleet has emerged as a potential replacement for James Harden in Philadelphia, according to Brett Siegel. And, if James Harden leaves, it does make sense as a fit there. They do have Tyrese Maxey to sort of run the point, but they could sort of run like the championship backcourt, Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet as 2 point guards in that position. I know Maxey's played off the ball as well. Fred has played off the ball a bit, so definitely would be an interesting fit. Obviously, he has that relationship there with Nick Nurse. He has those, he didn't play that well in the Philadelphia series a couple years back, even last year. 2 playoffs we've had against Philadelphia. Fred didn't shine the brightest, but is a guy that has been an all-star. He's won an NBA championship and is looking for a lot of money. And the Philadelphia 76ers, they can't bring back James Harden because he's going to the Houston Rockets or wherever. Could be an interesting fit. I know a lot of Toronto Raptors fans are hoping Fred VanVleet ends up leaving because of the fact that he's expecting a massive, massive contract. I get the money aspect, especially with the cap situation coming up across the NBA. A lot stricter rules on teams that are, in the tax, not having mid-levels, all that sort of stuff. But, we need a point guard. We need a point guard, folks. I know it was a down year for Fred VanVleet, but who are we having replace Fred if he ends up going? Is Delano Banton going to be coming out here? Is Malachi Flynn stepping up into the starting point guard role? Maybe the new coach will unleash points, Scotty. We'll see what ends up happening, but I don't know. It's a weird position for the Toronto Raptors to be in at this point, and if Fred VanVleet goes to the 76ers, continues to get weirder. So we'll see. We'll keep you updated on everything on that front, and as is tradition with this time of year, Bleacher Report has come out with some more Toronto Raptors trades, some wild ones. And we always like to break down a good Bleacher Report trade here at the end of the video. So let's take a look at the first one, saying that OG Anunoby and Thaddeus Young go into the Golden State Warriors, and the Toronto Raptors receive Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, and a 2023 first-round pick. That's 19th overall. And personally, given the poor performance of Jordan Poole in this most recent playoffs, I'm not that encouraged by this trade package. Yes, we do need guard. We need shooting. We need some play creation, especially if we're losing Fred VanVleet. And Jordan Poole is young and has put up some insane numbers with Golden State Warriors when Steph Curry isn't in the lineup. But OG Anunoby is a two-way player. He's a piece that I'd be very reluctant to part ways with. Now, if they added Jonathan Kuminga to the package, more attractive there for a Raptors fan, but I don't know. Jordan Poole, he's on a massive deal as well. So if really his performance in the playoffs this year is an indication of what's to come in terms of him as a player, and he's on this deal, it could become one of the worst contracts in NBA history. So OG Anunoby for Jordan Poole, I'm not that excited about, even though I think Jordan Poole will be a cool fit in a Raptors jersey. But let me know what you guys think about that one. The next one is an even wilder trade. Bradley Beal for OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. via sign trade, and Christian Koloko. Now, this one, I don't even know you can do sign-in trades with players if there's other players involved in the package. So I think Bleacher Report butchered this deal. But ignoring that fact, again, Bradley Beal is an amazing basketball player, and I would be more encouraged by this, even though he has more of an injury history than Poole. But he's an established All-NBA caliber guy. When he's multi-time All-Star caliber guy, All-NBAs might be a little bit of a stretch for Bradley Beal, but certainly would give us some shot creation, certainly would give us this. But again, the maximum contract is just an absolutely astronomical number. He's not a guy that's a number 1A option on his team. So giving up OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. for Bradley Beal, I'm not that encouraged by it, including a prospect in Christian Koloko on top of it. I know we have free agent and contract situations happening with those guys anyway, so maybe they leave for nothing. But I'd imagine the Washington Wizards, or maybe if they had any other GM in the NBA, would be willing to give up Bradley Beal, given his current contract, for much less than OG and Gary Trent Jr. But let me know what you guys think about those trades. Let me know what you guys think about all of this Toronto Raptors news. Stay subscribed, or get subscribed to the Toronto Raptors if you made it this far. Raptors Digest, goodness gracious. I'm back in the studio, back home from a week of traveling. I'm fumbling the outro, but folks, appreciate you guys as always. I'm signing out. Cheers.